Yo, did y'all forget an entire island literally blew itself up at the end of Squid Game Season 3? Like, boom! Gone! Evaporated! And the craziest part? The world just moved on like nothing happened. No headlines, no viral footage, no public outcry. That's not just suspicious. That's a cover-up. Let's rewind for a second. Season 3 didn't just end with a bang. It ended with answers buried under rubble. The legendary detective Junho, yeah, the guy whose arc kept fans on edge for 2 whole seasons, was left hanging. His mission, his brother's mystery, the whole conspiracy, unfinished. But something happened after that explosion. Player 246, disguised as a pink-suited guard, somehow escaped the chaos and made it to a hospital. Alive. And that alone should have unraveled everything, because guess who else turned up? Dead guards, floating in the water, still in uniform. Same location, same pink suits, same story. And here's where things get spicy. Wok, the ex-con who tried to blow the whistle earlier, was arrested before the explosion, right? At the time, everyone thought he was just another delusional guy trying to dodge jail. The cops laughed it off. But now they've got floating bodies, a survivor with first-hand knowledge, and a storyline that matches Wok's confession perfectly. That could explain why Wok, despite his record and the charges stacked against him, only got a 6-month sentence. 6 months. We're talking about a dude with 9 prior offenses, caught mid-burglary. That's not mercy. That's evidence being taken seriously. Finally. Now here's the juicy part. Once the police found the wreckage, the bodies, and that lone survivor, things had to shift behind the scenes. There's no way a normal police force ignores something that major. We're talking about undeniable proof that some twisted underground operation was happening on that island. But why haven't we heard about it in the news? Simple. Because billionaires were involved. Let that sink in. The Squid Game wasn't some rogue operation run by lunatics in masks. It was funded, filmed, and protected by the elite, the top 1% of the 1%, who treat human life like a poker chip. And when things went south in Korea, they didn't freak out publicly. They did what powerful people always do. They erased it. So while the world scrolled through TikToks and cat memes, somewhere in a dark, smoke-filled room, the masterminds behind the Squid Game were already regrouping. And that regrouping? Yeah, it leads to one thing: Squid Game USA. Because when one island goes down, another one rises. And trust me, you haven't seen chaos until it hits American soil. But guess who's still breathing, still fighting, and still chasing the truth? Detective Junho. And in part 2, we're diving deep into how his unfinished mission sparks the most dangerous games yet, on US turf. Now look, if there's one man who refused to let the Squid Game fade into shadows, it's Detective Junho. Bruised, betrayed, and nearly broken, this man didn't just survive the island. He lit the fuse that blew the whole operation sky high. Let's break this down. Junho wasn't just investigating, he infiltrated the operation. He wore the mask, moved like a guard, and saw the system from the inside out. And what did he find? His own brother, Junho, wasn't missing. He was the damn Frontman, the very thing he'd been chasing. But after that explosive Season 2 finale, Junho disappeared, shot, fallen, left for dead. At least, that's what we thought. Because now, rumors are swirling. Player 246 escaped. Bodies were found. Wok was released early. But who made the call that tipped off the Coast Guard? It was Junho. His last move before vanishing? He contacted authorities, not to save himself, but to help a player. That move alone cracked open the entire Squid Game narrative in Korea. So what does this mean? Here's where it gets deep. The Coast Guard finds a half-dead player floating near a boat filled with corpses in pink uniforms. They get hospital records, interrogation reports, testimony. Suddenly, Wok's insane-sounding prison rant isn't sounding so crazy anymore. The authorities start connecting dots. And the name Squid Game isn't a conspiracy theory anymore. It's a classified threat. Now picture this. The Korean government's official stance: silence. No press, no leaks. But behind the scenes, they're scrambling. They've realized that Squid Game wasn't a Korean problem. It was global, and right at the center of it all, a man they thought was dead. Detective Junho, the thorn in the Squid Game side, the ghost in the surveillance system. And now that there's blood on American soil, the ripple effect is unavoidable. The authorities may have tried to keep it buried, but power-hungry nations saw what happened and thought, why should Korea have all the fun? Enter the USA Games. The stakes? Bigger. The production? Slicker. The morals? Gone. And it all started because one detective refused to shut up and go away. But here's the most twisted part: Junho's story. It's still not over. Because in this new American chapter, his mission has evolved. It's no longer about finding his brother or exposing one island. Now, it's about bringing down the entire global Squid Game network. So what happens when the billionaires behind the game start to panic? In Chapter 3, we enter their world, the VIP suites, the velvet masks, and the full-blown meltdown of the elites who suddenly realize the game is no longer under control. Okay, so picture this. An entire Squid Game facility self-destructs. A detective presumed dead is leaking information. A survivor escapes. Dead guards float ashore, and the cops are finally asking questions. Now imagine you're one of the billionaire VIPs who's been betting on these death games like it's horse racing. You've spent years, maybe decades, perfecting this global blood sport in the shadows. Private islands, dozens of dead players, government-level secrecy. Then, boom, the whole operation in Korea goes nuclear. And suddenly, for the first time ever, you don't feel safe. The velvet masks don't protect you anymore. Your money can't buy silence fast enough. And the most terrifying realization? There's a mole. The panic starts small. Maybe a leaked report, a name whispered in a surveillance room. Then, VIPs start dying. One gets into a car crash. Another overdoses under mysterious circumstances. A third, dead in his penthouse, staged as a suicide. But make no mistake, these aren't accidents. Because someone's trying to blow the lid off the entire system. Someone on the inside. And that's when paranoia consumes the elite. They start interrogating guards, shutting down remote locations, watching each other like hawks, because they know someone's flipping. The twisted part? These are the most powerful people on the planet. Billionaire CEOs, corrupt politicians, royal families. People who have never, ever been told no are suddenly terrified. Not of being exposed, but of being replaced. Because remember, in this world, loyalty is cheaper than survival. And here's the dirty little secret. The Squid Game was never just about desperation. It was always about control, about watching the powerless tear each other apart for scraps. But now, the predators are prey. The elites are scrambling. The very system they designed to stay hidden is crumbling in real time. And if they can't find the mole fast enough, the whole network could be exposed, not just in Korea, but worldwide. But there's one wild card they didn't account for: Gi-Hun. Because his final move, his refusal to play by their rules, sparked something bigger than fear. It sparked hope. And for these elites, hope is more dangerous than any gun. We dive into the moment that shook the entire foundation, Gi-Hun's last stand. Why one man's act of selflessness in the face of certain death could become the spark that destroys the Squid Game from within. At first, he was just another desperate man, drowning in debt, clutching at hope, another number in a sea of 456 broken souls. But by the end of Season 3, Gi-Hun became something else entirely. A symbol, a threat, a spark. Let's rewind to the final moments of Season 3. Gi-Hun had every reason to give in. The Frontman, his ultimate adversary, offered him the same twisted deal that once corrupted him: survive, win, walk away rich. But Gi-Hun? He looked that man in the mask straight in the eyes and said, "No, He had already lost too much: his friends, his dignity. His soul was bruised from betrayal, from watching humanity collapse under the weight of desperation. So when it came time to choose, kill to survive or die to save, Gi-Hun did the unthinkable. He sacrificed himself. Not for money, not for fame, but to save the one thing left that reminded him what this world could still be: Junho's newborn baby. A child, innocent, untouched, hopeful. Gi-Hun gave up everything so that baby could live. And in that act, he shattered everything the Frontman believed in. Because to the Frontman, Junho, this world was a cruel loop, a never-ending cycle of betrayal, greed, and survival. He believed that everyone breaks eventually, that no one holds on to their morals when death is staring them in the face. And for a long time, he was right. Until Gi-Hun, until that moment. Because when Gi-Hun refused to kill, refused to cash in, and instead chose to die for someone else, he didn't just break the rules of the game. He broke the system. For the first time in years, the Frontman was forced to face something he buried deep inside: guilt. And what happened next proved it. Junho, the man who once oversaw mass slaughter like it was sport, did something nobody saw coming. He left the shadows. He personally delivered Gi-Hun's prize money to his daughter in Los Angeles. Not because he had to, not because it was protocol, but because he finally saw that humanity isn't dead. It's just been buried under the weight of power and fear. And in that final act of respect, something changed inside the Frontman. A flicker of redemption, a chance to make things right. Not just in Korea, but across the globe. Because Gi-Hun's death wasn't the end. It was the beginning of a war, the beginning of a revolution, the beginning of Squid Game USA. And what's wild? The Frontman's about to play both sides. We uncover how the Frontman transforms from a soulless enforcer to a secret rebel, risking everything to dismantle the empire he helped build. This is no redemption arc. It's an inside job. He was once the symbol of fear, the voice behind the mask, the man who whispered death sentences with a nod. The Frontman. But now, he's the biggest wild card in the entire Squid Game universe, and he's about to pull off the most dangerous inside job ever seen. Let's be clear, Junho didn't start as a villain. He was a winner, a survivor of the very game he now ran. Just like Gi-Hun, he played, he bled, he won. But instead of escaping, he stayed. And over time, he became the thing he once fought against. Cold, calculating, empty. But Gi-Hun's sacrifice, it cracked something inside him. Because in that final moment, when Gi-Hun chose death over cruelty, Junho saw something he hadn't seen in years: a way out. And so, in Squid Game USA, he doesn't just wear the mask. He starts hiding behind it. You see, the VIPs think they own the game. They think Junho is still their loyal lapdog. But in secret, he's leaking information. To the press, to hackers, to law enforcement agencies that still have a soul. And the best part, they don't even know it's him. Because remember, Junho isn't just a former player. He's a former detective. He knows how to investigate, infiltrate, and vanish without a trace. He starts leaving breadcrumbs, evidence, patterns, emails that accidentally get intercepted, an anonymous file drop that turns into a scandal. And behind the scenes, he's planting seeds of paranoia inside the organization. VIPs start suspecting each other. Guards disappear. Some try to run, others are silenced. But Junho doesn't stop. Because now, he has a mission. Take down the Squid Game. From the inside out. It's not redemption. It's revenge. Against the machine that stole his soul. But here's the thing. He knows this move puts a target on his back. One wrong step, and he's a corpse in a gold-plated coffin. Yet he keeps going. Because if Gi-Hun could die to save a child, then Junho can risk it all to save the world. And that's the twist nobody saw coming. The man who perfected the Squid Game may be the one to destroy it. But what exactly is brewing in the West? We head straight into the belly of the beast, The American version of the Squid Game. New money, new rules, new nightmares. This isn't just another arena. It's a billion-dollar blood sport with Hollywood polish and Wall Street cruelty. So you thought the Korean Squid Game was bad? Think again, because now we're heading to America, where the games aren't just deadly, they're industrialized. Welcome to Squid Game USA. Glitz, glamour, mass murder with a marketing team. This isn't some underground island anymore. This is a full-blown business, run by billionaires, backed by corporations, sanitized by lawyers, marketed through shell companies and offshore tech startups. And the American version? It's not trying to hide. It's just dressing it up with NDAs and private equity. Gone are the dusty dorms and creepy playgrounds. Now we've got glass skyscraper arenas, casino-style death matches, cameras rigged like a Netflix special. It's no longer about desperate debtors clawing for survival. Now it's influencers, failed CEOs, corrupt cops, people who sold their soul long ago, now fighting to keep what little reputation they have left. The prize? Not just money. It's image, legacy, a second chance in a society that already wrote them off. And that's what makes it even more twisted. Because Squid Game USA isn't just violent, it's performative. Every death is broadcast. Every contestant is marketed like a reality star. Their trauma is monetized, their sob stories turned into trailers. And you know who eats it up? The same people who pretend to be horrified. They're watching, clicking, streaming the death count like it's the Super Bowl. And all the while, the people behind it, lawyers, lobbyists, tech moguls, pharma CEOs, they sanitize the violence, rebrand it, call it extreme rehabilitation or privatized conflict resolution. But it's still the same thing, people dying for entertainment. Only now, it's profitable, scalable, and harder to trace. And the worst part? It's working. Squid Game USA is thriving. There's no explosion, no chaos, no messy aftermath, just clean kills, trending hashtags, and investor backing. But something's coming. Because there's a mole inside. There's a storm building. And the frontman who once built this empire? He's about to tear it all down. We take you into the games themselves. New challenges, deadly American twists, and the cruelest rules yet. Trust us. Red light, green light was child's play. Remember the games you played as a kid? Simon Says. Musical statues. What's the time, Mr. Wolf? Now picture playing them, with a sniper aimed at your head. Because in Squid Game USA, childhood classics just got weaponized. Let's start with the obvious. The opening game. Every Squid Game needs a high body count opener. In Korea, it was red light, green light, cute robot, catchy jingle, tune 56 players, gone in minutes. Now imagine the American version. Musical statues, same idea. Music plays, you dance. It stops, you freeze. Move a muscle, you're done. But here's the twist. The song is a Billboard hit. The arena, a neon-lit concert stage. Lasers track your heartbeat. Flinch? Boom. It's not just a massacre. It's theatrical slaughter. And then there's Simon Says, but with guns. You know the rules. If Simon doesn't say it, you don't do it. Only now, Simon Says jump might save your life. But Simon Says stab the person next to you? Yeah. Welcome to psychological warfare. And it doesn't stop there. Because this is America, baby. Let's talk about a Vegas-style deathmatch. Casino Royale elimination round. Players cycle through blackjack, poker, roulette. Win? You move on. Lose? The table folds in and swallows you whole. Or worse, your chip stack explodes. Every game is visually iconic, made for virality, built for merchandising, and yeah, designed to kill. Because in Squid Game USA, it's not just about survival. It's about making a show. The rules? Ruthless. No teams, no friends, no redemption arcs. Betrayal is built in. Every challenge pits people against each other, intellectually, physically, and emotionally. The viewers love it. And the VIPs, they bet on every single move. But here's what's really twisted. These games are legal, or at least buried under contracts so thick even the devil couldn't find a loophole. Consent forms, fine print, blood waivers, and the players, they signed them. Because just like in Korea, these aren't people with options. They're people who've already lost everything, who'd rather risk death than live another day invisible. But what they don't know is, there's someone behind the curtain slowly turning the tide, a traitor among the masked, a silent whistleblower ready to break the rules from the inside. And when he strikes, even these bulletproof games won't be safe. We expose the most dangerous twist of all, the mole inside. Who's leaking the secrets? Who's sabotaging the games? And how long can they survive before the VIPs find out? There's something rotten in the middle of Squid Game USA. Not the games, not the guards. One of the architects is sabotaging the entire operation from within, and no one knows who it is, but we do. It's the Frontman. That's right. The same masked mastermind who once ordered executions without blinking. Now he's feeding the outside world secret intel, one encrypted file at a time. Why? Because deep down, Junho knows this has to end. He's seen what happens when you let greed and power run the show, and he's tired of pretending he can live with the blood on his hands. But being the mole, it's not just risky, it's suicidal. Because the VIPs are watching everyone, every whisper, every room, every camera. They know someone is leaking, and they're getting desperate. Paranoia spreads like wildfire. Guards are suddenly reassigned, or disappear entirely. A handler is found dead in his suite, no cause of death, no witnesses. Whispers of the traitor echo behind those gold masks. And the Frontman? He plays his role to perfection. Stone cold, obedient, efficient. But behind closed doors, he's moving like a shadow. He plants fake documents to mislead suspicion, hacks internal surveillance to delete traces of his leaks, uses burner networks to tip off international agencies without a fingerprint. He's not just undermining the system, he's weaponizing it against itself. But every move he makes comes with a risk, because the deeper he goes, the more dangerous it gets. The VIPs start doing random checks. They turn on each other. They even stage a public execution just to send a message. One VIP is murdered in front of the others, branded a traitor, blood splattered on a gold throne. But the message wasn't for him. It was for the mole, the one still hiding, still leaking, still plotting. And the Frontman? He watches from the shadows. He knows he's next if they find him. But he also knows he's the only one who can bring the whole empire crashing down. And if it costs him his life, then so be it. Because someone has to finish what Gi-Hun started. In Chapter 9, the paranoia explodes. The VIPs start falling like dominoes. Assassinations, cover-ups, revenge from the inside. This is the fall of the untouchables. This is the moment the gods stumble. You'd think billionaires would be untouchable, right? Private jets, bulletproof compounds, armies of lawyers. But in Squid Game USA, power is built on silence. And the second that silence cracks, everything comes crashing down. Let's talk about the VIP meltdown. They built this system on control. But now, the mole's inside. Their secrets are leaking. Their players are rebelling. And their own lives are now on the line. The paranoia becomes deadly. One VIP is found in his luxury suite, throat slit, labeled a suicide. No investigation. Another vanishes mid-flight. His plane explodes before it lands. Media calls it mechanical failure. We know better. And then it gets brutal. An emergency meeting is called. The surviving VIPs gather in their velvet chamber. No cameras, no press, just fear. And one of them pulls out a gun. You think I'm the mole? Silence. He shoots the man next to him, right in the face. Pandemonium. The elites turn on each other like starving animals. Because when billionaires bleed, they bleed gold, and everyone wants a piece. Behind the chaos, the frontman watches. This is what he's been waiting for. The rot is spreading. From the top down, he keeps leaking. More names, more footage, encrypted files sent to journalists, activist groups, rogue nations. The truth is breaking free, and the system's defenders are too busy fighting each other to stop it. But here's what hits hardest. The world starts noticing. Whistleblower leaks hit social media. Hashtags trend. The games are real. Blood for sport. Shout expose the elites. Suddenly, people are questioning everything. Why did that politician disappear? What's that offshore company hiding? Why are all these billionaires dying? But instead of apologizing, the Squid Game architects go nuclear. They try to erase the mole, scrub the tapes, wipe the files, stage a final, violent cover-up to bury it all. And they almost succeed. Almost. Because there's one last secret. The frontman has a final play. And when he pulls the trigger, it won't just be a leak, it'll be a collapse. In Chapter 10, we look ahead. What's coming next? What will David Fincher do with the Squid Game universe in America? And how is this story about to get even darker? So, what happens after the empire falls? After the games are exposed? After the billionaires bleed? After the frontman sets the final matchstick ablaze? Simple. We go deeper, darker, smarter. Because David Fincher is stepping in. Yeah, that David Fincher. The twisted mind behind Fight Club, Gone Girl, Mindhunter. Now he's taking the reins for Squid Game USA. And if you thought things were insane before, you haven't seen Twisted. Let's talk timeline first. Filming starts late this year. Release expected in 2027. And the buzz? Nuclear. Because Fincher doesn't do surface-level horror. He digs into the psyche, into obsession, into power, into the question, why do we watch people suffer and call it entertainment? He's not just making a sequel, he's reprogramming the genre. And with screenwriter Dennis Kelly, creator of Utopia, on board, the vibe is crystal clear. This isn't just survival horror, it's psychological warfare in high def. Here's what we know so far. The games will be smarter. The characters, more morally gray. Expect undercover players, moles within moles. People playing both sides, because survival means manipulation. The commentary? Sharper than ever. Not just about poverty versus wealth, but about truth versus control. How corporations, media, and tech are the new arena, and we're all just contestants. And you better believe the frontman's story isn't over. Rumor is, he's still alive, still leaking secrets, still dismantling the empire piece by piece. Only now, he's not doing it alone. There's a new generation rising, people inspired by Gi-Hun's sacrifice, by Junho's mission, by the whispers of a game gone wrong, now turned inside out. And here's the kicker. Fincher doesn't do happy endings. He doesn't hand out justice on a silver platter. He hands you a mirror and says, this is you. You're the spectator. You're the system. You are the game. So don't expect hope. Expect revelation. Expect manipulation. Expect a story where even the heroes are suspects. Because when Squid Game USA drops in 2027, it won't just be a show, it'll be a reckoning. This story isn't about a game anymore, it's about a war. And whether you're a player, a watcher, or a puppet on someone else's string, one thing's for sure, nobody survives unchanged.